LeRoy Troyer is the president and founder of the Troyer Group, the company that designed and helped build the Ark Encounter. I've been talking with you about the Ark Encounter for days now, and here's the man behind the scenes. Welcome to the Harvest Show, LeRoy.
Thank you very much, Valerie.
Okay, so we know Noah built the Ark that's mentioned in the Bible, but you helped design and build the Ark in Williamstown, Kentucky. What was that like? How did that even get started for you?
It was very intriguing to me. With the Bible story, God had commanded Noah to build an ark to save mankind and the animals in the world, and to build a replica. When the idea was raised, I thought that it would be possible to build it out of wood rather than just out of steel. And with the talent in our country, and particularly in the Amish community, we were able to gather all those talents together and work together in harmony and build the Ark, and that was a very interesting process.
So it's the largest freestanding timber-made structure in the world. I mean, it's just massive. You know, I've been there. Kind of take us through the steps of, you know, from the blueprints to the final standing of the actual Ark.
Well, the programming done by Enters in Genesis, the staff that has Creation Museum near Cincinnati Airport, they had the idea of sharing the Bible account of Noah and providing the plan of salvation through mankind. And so being able to build an ark out of wood, we needed the talents and what did the animals, they needed food, they needed water, the people also needed food and water. And to build it of wood, we had to, since it is a fixed structure, not floating in water, it needed to have real high tensile strength for the timbers and the wood. Wood has different types of fiber stresses, so we use the wood, primarily Engelmann spruce and Douglas fir logs and timbers for the Ark. The largest timbers are about 38 inches in diameter, and we have a lot of also columns in the Ark. They're 20 by 20 in dimensions, in size, and the floor joists are every 6 feet on center. They're all built of 16 by 18 floor joists, and we had to prepare the site, the land. It took a considerable amount of excavation, about a year for excavating, blasting rocks to level off the hills. In Kentucky, it's very hilly. And then also the parking, we have parking for 4,000 vehicles. Had to build a bridge across the ravine. And the Ark is the first phase of biblical themed attraction.
You had the advantage of 21st century technology and vast geography of the United States to find the different woods and things like that. As you went through this project, did it give you a greater appreciation of how difficult this must have been in the time of Noah?
Yes, that's a real interesting question. We do not know the talent or the technology that existed before the flood, because God was so angry with the people in the world and their immoral life that he destroyed everything of breathing animals and people that were other than what they were in the Ark. And so since people lived before the flood, according to some of the scholars, 4, 5, 6, 7, 800 years, they had so much knowledge, they think there's maybe a possibility they were much farther advanced than what we believe, and maybe even more advanced than what we are today in our technology, because we don't know. It was all destroyed. So it was, according to the biblical account, it took about 100 years to build the Noah's Ark, and we had basically 2 years. And a year ago, June 15th, we set the first heavy timbers. And they're every 18 feet on center. We have 64 large timbers in the center. And then the bents were set. And of course, we had the use of modern cranes. And we had to shut the project down a few times because of high winds. But it was really, with the Amish community helping from about 15 communities around the country.
Well, you mentioned the Amish community too. Of course, during Noah's time, he was somewhat laughed at and derided for his project. When you went to other people to ask them to work on this project, what was their reaction?
And they were awed by it. And in fact, one of the Amish workers from Shipshewan, Indiana, who was one of the main leaders we asked to lead the timber framing, he said, well, maybe this is a reason that in my life that I have something to contribute, to share the gospel with people. And so that was very meaningful to him.
And you have a personal friendship with President Jimmy Carter, and he has actually been to the site of the Ark Encounter, I guess actually toured it. Kind of talk about, share that backstory. I think it's fascinating.
In '85, I was introduced to Habitat for Humanity by Millard Fuller, founder of Habitat. President Carter, I was asked to serve on the board. He was on the board of Habitat International. We started working together 30 years ago, and this will be the 30th year now. I will have been the House leader for President Jimmy and Rosalynn Carter. That will be in Memphis in fact, this month, around the week of the 20th, to build houses and with Habitat. And so through that relationship, I had asked him if he would want to come and see the Ark under construction, and he did. He thoroughly enjoyed it. He was awed by the tremendous heavy timber. He enjoys woodworking.
And you've been building homes also for Habitat for Humanity as well.
Yes, we helped start the local St. Joe County Habitat in Elkhart County and some other counties around here back in the mid-'80s, late '80s, and been active. We traveled all over the world with the Carters building houses in various countries and cultures.
I've heard through other sources, Mr. Troyer, that through all your building with the Ark Encounter, and as awesome as it is, you actually believe maybe your best project was Nazarene Village that you built. You can either refute that or agree with that and explain why.
Nazareth Village, in Jesus' hometown, what good can come out of Nazareth? The Bible story about Jesus. We were approached with the idea of having a visitor center, and as we listened to the people in Nazareth, international group of people from England, the U.S., and the Mideast, we suggested they consider building a replica of a first-century village to honor Jesus in his hometown, and for scholars to come and see what people lived like in the first century. And through that process, it was built. God sent along talent and people that we needed to help with the planning, and we worked with the top archaeologists in the world. Stephen Fond was one of those. He was one of the top people that deciphered the Dead Sea Scrolls. And so now we have a working farm, a working village. We did a replica of the synagogue and houses. They found a wine press on the site, the basis of 3 watchtowers, and it was also the parable. Jesus talked about the parable of the man that bought some land and built a vineyard and a wine press. It's all right on this land. And so that was very meaningful. And I thought that's maybe one of the more important religious projects. We've had opportunity to work with quite a few hundreds of buildings for churches over the years around the country. But then the Ark came along. And so the next part of the biblical theme attraction at the Ark Encounter is planned to be Tower of Babel, the 10 plagues. We're not too sure how to do that out of Egypt. But I think the right people come along, and the talents of the Answers in Genesis staff. They have about 40 people worked on for a year building the various exhibits, the 132 exhibits in the Ark. So the Ark is the #1 exhibit, and then internally there's many exhibits, including there'll be a section with a museum of the Bible also as well in the Ark.
Well, when you think about this Ark, it's humongous, and there are people, I'm sure, who will look at it and say, wow, all of that wood, all of that money to build this massive Ark, could you have possibly used that money to feed the hungry or do something like that? What do you say to people, to the skeptics?
Well, certainly, I noticed we spent a considerable amount of money building many buildings for churches and religious purposes, and probably more people will come and be impacted by coming to the Ark. And there's always, like Jesus said, there'll always be a need for poor people. And hopefully also the poor in spirit, physical poor also. And so hopefully the people can be fed by raising their spirit and their spiritual life as well. That's also very important.
Is this it? Are you done with the Ark, or are you going to take on another encounter?
Well, I've learned long ago that what comes before us, if we accept the opportunities that God gives us, that that can be a very meaningful and give us a fruitful life. And I'd like to be able to contribute to the enjoyment of people.
Well, you have done a great job in doing that. Thank you so much, Mr. Troyer, for joining us. For more information about the Ark Encounter or to connect with Mr. Troyer, go to TroyerGroup.com. Stay with us. Pastor Mark Lance joins us with today's Connections. We'll be right back. Thank you.